Hello again, and welcome to another pinball playthrough of a little video game series I'm doing here, where I'm playing various little pinball video games, just having a look at them. The sort of thing that you wouldn't maybe, well, I certainly wouldn't have paid any attention to when the original time of release came around. Didn't really start playing pinball at all until the early 2010s, after the release of Pinball Arcade. But it's kind of fun to go back and play these pinball spin-offs of various games. And this one's set on a franchise which I wouldn't say was particularly close to my heart, certainly not now, but one that I loved when I was around about 10 years old, and that is the Power Rangers. And this game is Power Rangers Zeo Full Tilt Battle Pinball. And it's quite a quirky little game. I quite enjoyed this actually, for being kind of limited, being on the PlayStation 1. Certainly in comparison to other pinball games I've played, maybe a bit more variety with the tables, although there was one particular table, and you'll see here at the end of the video, a baffling design decision, which kind of made me not have as great a time as I might have otherwise. Anyway, cool little thing about this game is you get these FMV intros of the Power Rangers, and their little helper robot. I have no idea what his actual name was. What was the helper robot in Power Rangers called? Alpha 5. Certainly couldn't have told you that in a pop quiz. This isn't the Power Rangers that I would particularly say I grew up with. I liked the original series when it first came out around about 95, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as it was called. You know, the Go Go Power Rangers. I mean, that was just the coolest thing when you were like 9, 10 years old. And I always wanted to get a Megazord as a toy. Never managed to get one. I do remember my friend Adam in primary school had one, and I was super jealous because the idea of having these 5 individual toys that can combine into like the one large dinosaur robot creature. I mean, that's just cool now. Although saying that, I was never into Transformers. I don't know if I was just maybe a bit too young for Transformers, but I remember having like friends in high school who were into it. So I don't know, that one just skipped me by. Never been a fan of vehicles, and even having the ability for them to turn into giant robots. I mean, giant robots in general, not something that I'm really particularly drawn to. I'd have to say my favourite would be the the Metal Gear games. I've watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, and never a fan of the giant robots particularly. But I think it was more the idea of guys that combined into one super powered thing. That was just so cool. And this particular pinball game's based on Power Rangers Zeo, which according to Wikipedia is the 4th season of the Power Rangers franchise, based on the 19th Super Sentai series Joriki Sentai Oranger. For those who don't know, and this is like quite one of these little sound facts that you hear about or heard about when you first went on the internet, for me, people of my age anyway, the Power Rangers franchise, what they did was they took all the scenes where it was them, either the giant robots fighting other giant robots, or anything where they were basically dressed in their Power Rangers costumes and doing the kickflips and the karate chops and so on. That was filmed in Japan and was used as its own basis for the Japanese series. And then when they brought it over to America, they separately filmed all, the high school drama series sequences, and then just tied that in with the Japanese footage to make a whole new series, which they could then market to foreign countries. I think they did a similar thing with Teletubbies actually, which would have been around about this area, maybe a year or two later than Power Rangers, you'd have to say. So yeah, as a game, like, these tables are actually pretty cool. I did enjoy the game that was on offer here. Ties in really nice with the theme. I like how you've got these like destructible enemies on the playfield that you can destroy. And it had this whole nice little gimmick of you doing sort of almost like a round the world tour where you would, I think it's off the top of my head, I think it was America, then Asia, then Africa. And I didn't get that far. You'll actually see the Africa level, which the video will end on, had what I would call a glaring design fault for a pinball table. But you'll get to that. Unlike most pinball tables or pinball games, the objective isn't to get as high a score as you can, although I'm sure it will allow a mode for that. One of the most thorough opening menus I've ever seen for a game. But this sort of mode I'm playing here, I suppose, would be, for lack of a better term, the campaign. And we see a quick multi-ball here, which is always enjoyable. Multi-ball, one of the more fun aspects of pinball, just bashing around and trying to save as many as you can. And as you can see, you actually get like a sort of, like an actual level. There's an end goal for these pinball tables, and then once you hit them, you move on to the next one. Although I didn't explore it thoroughly enough to see if there was, you know, an actual arcade mode, for lack of a better term, where you just go for the high score. So stage 2 of the America stages, and nice little designs here. They cram a lot onto the screen here. One of the downsides of pinball games of this era is, I've seen it in maybe like my Austin Powers video, you'll find that like maybe the screen has to scroll to keep up with the playing area, something like that. But they went a sort of different route with this and just had these little small tables that fill the single screen, and I think it worked really well and tied in quite nicely to the theme of Power Rangers. So I didn't really follow much of the Power Rangers by this point. I think, when did Power Rangers Zeo come out? It was originally in '96, so it was actually pretty soon after after the initial one. I mean, the thing about that age, you were just kind of inundated with toys and marketing for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was such a huge success. 1993 it actually debuted. I thought it would have been like 95 if you'd put a gun to my head. Yeah, it became, according to Wikipedia, a 90s pop culture phenomenon. And I would have to echo that sentiment. Yeah, it says right here actually, the show adapted stock footage from the Japanese TV series Koyoryo Sentai Zyuranger 92-93, which was the 16th installment of Toei's Super Sentai franchise, which must be some kind of larger franchise that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers branches off of. So yeah, massive success in Japan that was just brought to the West, I suppose, and again a massive success over here. Unusual for a pinball game, we'll have a boss level here, and you'll see this large Zord, is that what you call them? Zords? Figure in the middle of the battlefield that we'll have to shoot the ball at. And again, score seemingly kind of inconsequential for this one. So yeah, I do remember really enjoying Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when it first came out. I actually remember the movie, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. Now that must have been 95. I'm just quickly checking on Wikipedia here. Yeah, 95 was that a summer blockbuster. 21st of July 95. I'd have been I'd just turned I'd be 9 and a third years old when that came out. And I remember like begging my mum to like rent it from the video store like the night that it came out, and it was causing like a good fuss because she had to go and like travel to the bingo that night, but she managed to get a copy. And genuinely remember actually that being one of the first times as a child being disappointed in something, was the build up to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers film. It might be actually fun to rewatch the trailer of that one. And despite actually my love for video games and the franchise, I suppose, I never really played any game from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series. I think there was a beat 'em up. I seem to remember Power Rangers beat 'em up. PlayStation, probably. Mega Battle? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle. No, that came out much more recently. I don't remember, but yeah, very little exposure to any games from the franchise. So I'd have to say this pinball version is probably the most thorough one that I've played. Power Rangers Zeo Full Tilt Battle Pinball. So yeah, I do like the cool little FMV sequences you get between the stages here. It's a nice little touch. Something that maybe Austin Powers Pinball could have done with. Feeling that it's not a game or a pinball game that took advantage really of its theme. And you'll see as we move to the Asia section here, you can see the design of the Asian characters in the middle of the playfield, and I think the idea here is to hit these two switches on the left and right hand side of the door and then shoot the ball through them. Either way, it doesn't end up being too tough a task to do. Yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, 1995 superhero film. It seems so quaint to see the term 95 superhero film. Yeah, use concepts from the film as well. Sentai Zeo Ranger, Gotsai Sentai Dia Ranger, and Ninja Sentai Kako Ranger. What's Ninja Sentai Kako Ranger? Is a Japanese tokusatsu. What's tokusatsu? A special effect heavy film, a tokusatsu. Yeah, interested to know how big this was in Japan before they thought to bring it over to the West. Yeah, it received mixed reviews from critics. Critics praised its action sequences and performances, but felt that the film was nothing more than a longer episode of the series with slightly better special effects. Yeah, I mean, I would kind of agree with that. I still remember that vague disappointment of. I remember you'd hire out a video from Videoscope. That was our local rental shop at the time. They did games and VHSs and obviously later DVDs before they shut down in this digital era. But I remember normally you would rent a film, and I wish I could remember what the cost of it was. I mean, I'd be guessing. I remember specifically the cost to rent a Genesis game. It's not a Genesis game, what was I saying? A Mega Drive game. Sorry, that's years of internet corruption working on my brain there. It was £2.50, I believe. Or was it £1.50 to rent? I remember renting Earthworm Jim. And you'd get it, say I got it on the Monday, you'd get it Monday night, Tuesday night. And then you must have had to bring it back on the Wednesday, so it was 2 nights. And then any time on the Wednesday, and up till you'd keep the game up till like, I don't know, they probably had a policy for midday or something like that. But yeah, I remember you would normally get to keep. Yeah, it must have been if you got a game on Monday, you keep it. You hand it back Wednesday. If you got a film on the Monday, you'd have to hand it back the Tuesday. I remember being so disappointed in the Power Rangers film that I just said to my mum, I think probably when she came back from the bingo, nah, you can just take it back now. I don't. And just that level of disappointment. No, it wasn't a bingo. It was a bingo tea my mum went to. It wasn't a bingo where you'd win money. It was like a bingo tea for prizes. Because I remember, used to, whenever my mum went to the bingo tea, sometimes she would bring back a little kind of, almost like a goodie bag. And it would always have like, you know, a sandwich, maybe a tuna mayo or egg mayo sandwich or something like that. It would, a sausage roll, maybe like a cupcake, maybe like a wee bar of chocolate, maybe some sweeties, that kind of thing. And I vividly remember being more excited about that goodie bag coming back from the bingo tea than Morphin Power Rangers. Or maybe it was just because Power Rangers disappointed me so much. Either way, it wasn't a great time. But yep, 1995 that came out. 96 minutes long, so you know, that just tells you almost everything you need to know. And actually made a decent bit of money on a $15 million budget. It made $66 million at the box office, so you would have to call that a fair success. I mean, Power Rangers was absolutely massive at the time. So this will be the boss of the Asia stage I'm fighting there, and a little bit more difficult than the America boss in that he kind of moves around the battlefield, doesn't just stay static. And there's also that pin at the bottom which seems to stop your ball slipping out, so not a difficult game this, it has to be said. And we actually clear the second stage there, which will give us the chance to move on to, I think it's Africa, the stage coming next. And you think we'll get another nice little FMV sequence coming up. Do you like these little, it's just a nice little thing for that era in games that you don't really get FMV sequences anymore. You don't really need them because, you know, modern games, everything can just be done in the engine, just made to look fine as it is. But yeah, Power Rangers Zeo Full Tilt Battle Pinball, known as Power Rangers Pinball for short, or in Japan, sorry, was a 1996 pinball game produced by Bandai and K's Company Limited for the original PlayStation. It is up to the player to help the Zeo Rangers with their pinball skills to save the day. And yeah, here we'll see the Africa stage here, and I was really confused by the purpose of the massive floating, well, for lack of a better term, extraterrestrial unidentified object in the middle of the playfield. It's not difficult because you see that little golden peg at the very bottom middle. That kind of stops your ball draining unless you have one of the flippers set on the up position. But this large UFO just kind of blocks your view on the battlefield or the playfield, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. Maybe I was meant to destroy it, and I think it was actually this level that I just stalled, which was a bit of a shame. I was having a lot of fun with this, and you know, the nice tie-in to the Power Rangers series. It's actually a cool little table, but something about this design just I didn't know what they were trying to achieve. It felt really difficult to hit the ball up to that sort of top left area playfield. I wasn't too sure exactly what shot it wanted me to do to get the ball up there, and I couldn't really pull it off with any kind of consistency. Do get a nice little extra ball opportunity here though. So there isn't actually too much more in this game here. I've probably shown off about halfway through the game. It tends to be that pinball games, certainly for this era of consoles, don't tend to have too much content with them. As we saw with the Austin Powers video, sometimes you'll just get 1 or 2 tables. So it goes from the 3 stages in America and the 2 in Asia, which we saw. This is the first African level, which, I mean, it says there's a boss here, the Machine Empire ship. I presume that's the large object in the middle there, and then there's a second level after the boss level, which seems odd, and then 2 levels in Europe, Italy and the Roman Colosseum, and then 3 boss levels in the North Pole to finish. So, not the greatest pinball table game I've ever played. Nice little theme, has to be said. It's cool to see the thing that you couldn't really replicate on a real table, like, well, that large floating alien device in the middle, or the sort of red shirt enemies that you're able to take out on the playfield. I'm not sure if you're meant to collect that red spinning head that's in the top left there. I presume that was kind of the purpose. So, didn't get much further in Power Rangers Zeo Full Tilt Battle Pinball. As fun as a time that it was, and a nice little revisit of a franchise which, to be honest, I hadn't thought about in many years. Power Rangers kind of seems like one of these things that could be due a resurgence. Always just cool, that the idea that the transforming and the teamwork. I suppose that's one thing that it emphasised to kids without you really realising it. Are they still doing anything with it? I mean, it says to present on currently now owned by Hasbro. What's the recent history of what some Power Rangers look like? They're filming Power Rangers Cosmic Fury in New Zealand. Yeah, a lot of these things get filmed in New Zealand and the like. I'm not sure if it's just cheaper or whatever, but that's on Netflix. Be funny to have a look at that, see if it's actually any decent. Only 10 episodes of it. The list of Power Rangers video game has its own wiki page, and there's a considerable amount. It'd be fun to look at some of these, I suppose. I do remember looking at the SNES one, I think. I never actually played it in the flesh. I must have played it on an emulator. I think maybe I actually played that relatively recently. Just having a little look-see at it. But yeah, there's been dozens. Well, actually, there's not been that many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 video games based on the Power Rangers franchise. And some of those are just like iOS games, Game Boy Color, that kind of thing. Lot of Game Boy tie-ins here. Makes sense, I suppose. Oh, and they made an actual game of Power Rangers the movie, separate from the original series. And they're all 4 separate games. That would be an interesting thing to do, possibly for a video. Just look at 4 different versions of the same Power Rangers game and compare them. Just to have like another little visit to the old franchise. Gosai Sentai Da Ranger and Koyoro Sentai Zio Ranger. Koyoro Sentai Zio Ranger. Like, very early 90s that these all seem to come out. I wonder if the designs... Yeah, you Google something like Koyoro Sentai Zio Ranger and it looks like you could just be looking at a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers screen. Although they also have the ones where it's the Asian actors wearing the suits without the helmets, as opposed to the Western actors that we know from a series we watched. Been lots of episodes of these things. It'd be a fun thing to watch just to remember. But I think as I fail miraculously to figure out how to get this alien guy off the screen, I think that'll probably be it for us and our little revisit to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as fun as that's been. So I've been Mac, this has been, what's the full game title again? Power Rangers Zeo Full Tilt Battle Pinball. And yeah, it's been a nice little revisit to a franchise here. These Mighty Morphing Power Rangers. Right, well, fail miraculously here, type in my name and call it a day. Couldn't manage to defeat the Africa boss. Oh well, goodbye.